Okay. I'll call to order the city council meeting for June 30th, 2022. Everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Dave Webb.
Here.
Kevin Kadada.
Here.
Tim Rude.
Here.
Cindy Fuhr.
Here.
And Scott Palava.
Here.
Okay, tonight's agenda goes through 10F. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Councilman Palava.
Second.
Excuse me. A second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of minutes. Consider approval of the minutes from the June 6th, 2022 special meeting, the June 9th, 2022 regular meeting, and the June 16th, 2022 special meeting. In addition, deletions or corrections to the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There are no public hearings. Presentation of citizens' petitions and comments. Comments limited to 2 minutes. So if you're not on the agenda, now's your opportunity to speak. The consent agenda consists of 3 items tonight: the monthly bills, the treasurer's report, and the board and commission minutes. Anybody like any of those items pulled for discussion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Old business. Consider approval of resolution 2022-34, a resolution accepting a bid for the purchase of a city-owned parcel. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This particular outlot was the topic of a city council work session which was held on May 12th earlier this year, where potential builder Lance Mantee presented a townhome project to the city council and planning commission. The focus of it was for him to describe his project, but then also to see whether or not there was interest in rezoning the outlot from currently business to residential. Both the planning commission and council were tasked with thinking about the potential development and continued discussions and to relay any comments to Mantee by the end of the month. The planning commission did review it at their May 23rd meeting. Discussion focused on the fact that this type of housing is needed, what the condition of the property would be in 5 to 10 years, that a planned unit development or PUD would be needed to address the concerns of both the city and the developer. The design of the buildings, our design standards being met, and then being the right project but the wrong location, and rezoning made sense based on the potential housing project. And then this was also discussed at the May 26th City Council meeting. That discussion focused around a PUD being needed, that the project would be a good buffer between the commercial and single-family housing to the south, that it would be treated as a development with associated fees being paid, what effect positive or negative comments from neighboring properties would have on the project moving forward. And what ended up coming out of that meeting was the fact that the council wanted the process to be fair and directed staff to advertise the outlot for sale. Staff did advertise the parcel for sale in the June 7th and 14th editions of the Lonsdale Area News Review. It was also posted on our website, and then I sent the ad to the parties interested in the lot, Gary Tupy and Lance Mantee. I guess two bids were received. ALG Enterprise, their proposed purchase price was $132,500. The proposed land use is business, and then a timeline of 18 months repurchase clause in the purchase agreement. I did reach out, and the emails are in the packet. As I said, sent the ad for bid to each interested party. Mr. Tupy, I believe, was under the assumption that his purchase agreement that was submitted in earlier this year in May would be good enough, or if I wanted to have him submit another purchase agreement. I told him if he wanted the purchase agreement to be submitted we should finalize that repurchase agreement, but then also the council wanted purchase price, proposed land use, and project timeline. I did follow up with Mr. Tupy, I think earlier this week, regarding timeline and proposed use. Lance Mante's proposal was submitted before the due date. Proposed purchase price of $125,000. Multifamily, or R3 would be the proposed land use, and then the timeline would be as soon as possible with inclusion of a 12-month repurchase agreement. So the council can discuss that on how they want to proceed. Included in the packet, based off of the purchase price, is a purchase agreement with ALG Enterprises for the 132,500, and this is the standard purchase agreement that we have used here recently. Closing date no more than 90 days from the date of this agreement. Explains what the city's responsible for, or the seller's responsible for, what the buyer's responsible for. Defaults, if the buyer defaults, if the seller defaults, termination clauses, and then inclusion of the 18 months time frame for the repurchase agreement. And then if approved, the city council agrees to sell Outlot A, Willow Creek Commons Second Edition, according to the proposed agreement, and then authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to execute other closing documents as necessary. Alternatives would be to not approve the proposed purchase agreement, consider selling the land to another bidder, or not selling the land. And then included with the staff report is the proposed resolution, the ad for bid, the bids, purchase agreement, and then an aerial photo of the subject property. I guess if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and I know one of the bidders is here as well.
Wait 1 second, Lance. We'll call you in. Okay. So a couple, just to clarify, so this thing has always been zoned business, right? Ever since
Correct,
inception?
yes.
Okay. Now, there's been, I think, a letter from a resident and a call from a resident. I don't know if they're on file or need to be on file, but if they do, I have that also, you know. But
Yeah, I know that there was a resident that went around and door knocked or put flyers or a flyer on property doors in that area.
Right.
I didn't personally receive anything, but yeah, there is.
I mean, the big
that
concern
opposition out
basically
there.
was the rezone. It
Correct.
was the argument. Okay. All right, Mr. Manti?
I guess I had some questions. Well, number one, I'd like to say just thanks for having me. You know, this has been quite the process, learning a lot. But I'm going to always show up because this project actually means something to me. So I've been to lots of meetings, been very clear on what I want, and I think that that's the type of partner that the city would want to work with. And then specifically for Joel, just to kind of get some clarification with this other bid. Well, let me back up. The whole reason why we did this, or the city decided to do this, was to be fair. That was the term that kept getting thrown out at that last May city council meeting, is we needed to be fair, transparent for everybody. Hard to ever argue with that. Joel was very clear in what was required for the bid. One of those points was to be in by 4:30 p.m. on, I believe it was Tuesday, the 22nd. So did Mr. Tupy actually have his bid in at the deadline?
Well, if you go by the email, he was under the assumption that he could use his other purchase agreement. I did follow up on clarification after the fact when I got back into the office on proposed use and timeline.
But he knew that he never had a buyback clause in there, so that wasn't an acceptable purchase agreement.
Well, I think we're a little
Yeah,
bit
my
off.
email.
I guess my big thing is
Yeah.
if we wanted to be fair,
Yeah. No, I get,
and
yeah.
somebody didn't actually take the initiative to submit a bid on time with everything that was needed, is it fair, I guess my question, is it fair to consider that bid?
Right, and I think we felt we do. I think the couple of big issues, as I just mentioned, that's why I tried to preface that, is the neighborhood is adamantly opposed to a rezone for housing. And especially
The
townhome
neighborhood
housing.
or one individual?
Well, there's a couple individuals. I actually got a letter from one person. But I guess just so you're clear, that doesn't mean that you're not welcome in Lonsdale. I mean, there's certainly other parcels in town that would be conducive to your townhome rental
That's
proposal.
Land owned by the city, are you
No,
specifically speaking of?
or they're
land-
private. They're private-owned land. And, one is really ideal. I certainly can get you lined up to, with the owner. I mean, it's right at, he's got sewer and water and the whole deal there. So, I mean, I don't want you to, be upset just because this particular parcel didn't work. I think,
So is that, are you telling me it's not gonna work? Is that the council, I guess?
we haven't discussed it yet. I'm just saying, there's a lot more obstacles than just price, you gotta do the rezone,
Sure.
which, is reluctance and all those kind of things. But my point is, there's other parcels in town that are conducive to what you're proposing without a rezone.
There may be, but not.
No, there is.
No, I'm not arguing whether there's other land available, but I
There
don't
is.
think it would be as ideal as this location.
Well, I mean, that
That's
would be
all.
up for discussion, I mean, that's
Yeah.
your opinion. And I think to counter the argument, we just turned down a car wash because it needed to be rezoned. So if we're not gonna follow a comp plan, we're gonna keep rezoning things, why have a comp plan? I'm just, and I don't mean to be adversarial, and I'm only one of five.
That's fine, I have to take feedback.
But I guess my point is, there's multiple parcels, right around the perimeter of the city that would be conducive to what you're proposing. And, Joel and I'm sure we'd be glad to introduce you to the property owners, all those kind of things. So, I just don't want you to feel that just because this particular business parcel didn't work out, that, we don't want you in town, because that's farthest from the truth.
Thank you for your time.
But I mean, that's just, just my opinion, but I mean, obviously, it's five of us here, and,
I know that neighborhood would be a tougher sell for rezoning, that's for sure. There was a lot of pushback that I saw as well, got an email and a few different calls too.
I don't know, can I just stay standing up here? I guess I don't need.
no, you say your piece, and then we're gonna continue with the
Okay,
discussion.
well, so then, but to follow with that, with the concern of rezone, I mean, is it because now there's gonna be something there, or what is the
No.
concern or feedback you're getting? Because if business goes there, that's not gonna be like a quiet neighborhood thing, I'm
Right.
assuming.
Right, it's zoned for business, but now that you said your piece, okay, now it'll be the council. Okay. So, you continue with what you're saying.
That, I would assume be a few more meetings if we did wanna try to rezone that. If we did go down this road and it didn't get rezoned, that'd be a bigger hiccup. It is zoned for business. The other offer is putting a business in there that would not need rezoning. I think that would be the safer way to go.
This is the same company that has purchased the property on Pondview, correct?
That, correct, yes.
I got a little heartburn with this, to be honest, because here we are waiting yet for, as far as I know, no dirt has moved, no shovel in the ground on that piece on Pondview, is that correct?
No, that's not correct, actually.
Okay,
there's-
something has started?
Yeah.
Excellent, okay,
Yeah, the
that's,
sill
that'd be my,
fence,
I
okay,
believe today the silt fence and the rock entrance
okay.
Right.
went in.
Right.
The
Okay,
city, I believe, the permit was picked up on last Friday, correct?
Right.
Okay.
And
good.
I
So-
think the other parcel, they're just waiting for the scam filter business to close on their existing building.
Existing building.
And then they're gonna start construction too, because he's doing a 1031, which is, you probably know what that is, rebuilding.
And then I believe that they have 6 months from the date of closing on their current facility, essentially to have a CO in their new building.
So that'll move fast when it does.
Right.
Okay, that's.
It's
that's-
unfortunate though how long things take nowadays, whether
It's understandable, but I mean, but he already was, I mean, this has been in the works a long time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, it finally is now coming about, like, I was there like on Monday, and so this wasn't happening yet on Monday,
Right,
so,
right.
okay.
I mean, just look how
So-
long our police station was taking.
I know.
Yes,
You
this
know.
is true.
But you're right, you raise a valid point.
You
You
know,
don't want
we-
people to buy it and sit on it. You're right.
It's, you know, it looks like the land grab,
Right.
we continually are crucified on social media for selling it too cheap, or we sold it to so-and-so and nothing's happening. Now finally something's happening, so I hope all those social media warriors out there pay attention to it.
They won't.
I'm
You have
giving
high
them the
hopes.
benefit of the doubt, fingers crossed, so.
I will give the lady that, or the couple that wrote the letter, making the argument not to rezone, you know, they had some pretty valid points, and I don't know, I certainly can be public record, I mean, we can distribute that or
I
whatever,
think
but,
she had said she was a landlord of a Shakopee.
right, homeowners
Rent owner or
association,
something, yeah.
right.
And the issues with HOAs and
Right,
things like that.
Right.
My other question is, the 18-month, what was the repurchase on the Pondview property?
It was June 21st or 23rd.
So was it a 18 or 12?
It was 12 months.
Okay, I guess I would
So
like, I'd like to see this one be at a 12 also, just to, stay consistent with our, and I know it may not be a possibility because of the issue, the supply chain issues that everyone is facing, but to pull it in a little more into line, to be a little more, I'll say fair, for lack of a better word, or, consistent with the previous even.
Yeah, it's, this whole supply chain, the whole economy, just try
It's a
to order
challenge.
some concrete culverts, just culverts for a job, and they're a year out now.
Right.
It's just crazy, it just, but,
Is there would it be possible, I mean, they don't have to have much for supply, but to at least to, break ground. I mean, so it's not just, it might take a little bit longer, but to get things rolling, but at least signage or whatever to show something's happening.
yeah. I mean, there's a good chance that you're gonna have the two built before the snow flies. And, I'm sure that filter company, they're probably as anxious as anybody to get built. And this, I think, from what I understand, they're working with the daycare that I brought up at the last meeting, to maybe use part of this parcel for a daycare.
That'd be a huge help. I mean, that is a very
Yep.
big need.
Yeah, and that'd be a good spot for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
We're looking for a motion for a resolution.
Mhm.
I move we enter into resolution 2022-34.
motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second,
second by Councilperson Fuhrer. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And again, Lance, I certainly will take the time to introduce you to some property owners around town if if you still have interest. Like I say, I know two parcels for sure that are right by sewer and water mains and all that kind of stuff that would be conducive to what, to what you're trying to accomplish. So you just give me or give Joel a call and we'll set something up. So, thank you for your time. Consider approval of resolution 2022-35, a resolution appointing election judges. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. There'll be a state primary August 9th and a general election November 8th. According to state statute 204B.21 subdivision 2, the city council is required to appoint election judges for elections held within the city. The appointment of election judges cannot be done less than 25 days before the election. That date would be July 15th. The proposed election judges have either worked an election in the past or signed up at their party's caucus because they're interested in being a judge. If they did sign up at their party's caucus, they have to be appointed. They obviously will have to meet the training requirements that every other judge has to meet to actually serve as a judge. As proposed, election judges will be paid $14.92 an hour, which includes any attended trainings, and the two elections. The fiscal impact of wages will be about $2,600 for the two elections. As far as alternatives, there really aren't any. This has to be approved before July 15th. I did send notice to several other interested parties that signed up at the caucus. They did not submit an application or a application of interest. And also I had sent it to several other residents that in the past had indicated interest in being a judge, and I did not receive those back. So then attached to the staff report is the proposed resolution and then the applicable state statute.
What happens if you have judges that don't show up or cancel at the last minute? Are you still comfortable that you have enough?
I thought I put a clause in the resolution that, if necessary, that I'm authorized to find additional judges within the 25 days leading up to the election if needed.
Move we approve resolution 2022-35.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of a job description for the position of accounting technician, utility building permits, AP/AR, and payroll. Mr. Erickson.
Thanks, Mayor and members of the council. With the resignation of Mary Jo Turek, staff evaluated the position and job description prior to making this recommendation. Based on staffing levels and the tasks needed to be completed at City Hall, it was determined the position needed to have increased responsibilities and make the position full-time. Since her resignation, our city planner informed us that he accepted a position with another community. So with having to replace two positions, we looked at and evaluated job duties of at least those two positions and the city treasurer as well. Based off of that, we are recommending that the position be increased to full-time. Summary of the position would be responsible for all aspects of utility billing, assist with AP/AR, assist with payroll, and in the absence of the city treasurer, conduct the payroll process, assist with building permits, general receptionist duties, calculate and pay the liquor store sales tax, and then other tasks as assigned. The proposed education and experience that's being required is an associate's degree in accounting or finance related field, a minimum of 3 years work experience. And then desired would be a bachelor's degree in accounting, 6 years of accounting experience, preferably in a governmental setting, or other substantial qualifying experience in lieu of a degree. This is, when I was working on this, there were 2 cities advertising for accounting techs just strictly for utility billing. And since then, several other cities are advertising as well. And this is pretty consistent with other communities' desired training and experience in education. We've reviewed the job description with the staff at City Hall and takes into account these upcoming changes and that we're anticipating here for the near future. The fiscal impact of the city will be the wage and benefits acceptable to the city and future employee. It is estimated the position will cost the city additional probably about $25,000 compared to how the position was previously structured. And then alternatives would be to either amend or not approve the job description as proposed, and then included is the proposed job description.
Do you feel the salary range is going to be conducive to having a high-quality person?
Well, I certainly hope so. The 2 cities, when I was working on this, were advertising, again, strictly just for utility billing, and we've got payroll, building permits, and other duties in there, and they were, where do I have that? Like $26 to $34 an hour. And then, as I said here recently, a couple other communities are advertising, and they're right in that pay range too, so, you know.
I guess my point is that.
I certainly hope so, yes.
I'd prefer even, or if you had to move the scale, I don't know how it fits into the plan, but, you know, especially these next two positions, and you know how City Hall, I think you've actually commented, you know, years ago, we used to have 5 people here, and now we're down to.
6, I think.
Yeah, and now we're, you know, basically running at 3.5, and, you know, I think you want at least 4 good people for right now, so I guess my point is if you think it takes a few extra dollars to get the best person, you know,
Mhm.
just make sure we're kind of cognizant of that, you know.
Do you think in this job description, or if we put on a part-timer, if that's something down the road, but something with a social media liaison or someone that's in charge of kind of monitoring the mudslinging that goes out and put out the facts?
Facts.
You know, just the true facts. I don't know if it's this position or if it's down the road yet, or.
I am working on reviewing the proposed job description for the city planner, which we'll be reviewing here at the next meeting, and I do plan on incorporating that into that.
Okay.
You know, I think that's an excellent idea. I mean, you've noticed that Prior Lake has done that. I think even didn't Susie Rooks go to Rice County, for example? So they're hiring professional people in this communications position.
And that's becoming more and more prevalent. At the
Right.
league conference, I sat in on a session, and yeah, cities are going to full-time community relations or.
So I agree with Kevin 100%. I think it's gotta be, in one of these 2 jobs, you gotta plug it in. I mean,
Yeah.
this stuff this last few weeks again is just off the charts goofy, you know? But,
Yeah, we'll definitely incorporate it. The only thing that I could see as a concern is they're just not gonna have that history.
Right.
right.
But for now, we're just looking for approval of the job description for the position.
Make a motion to approve the job description for accounting technician.
Motion by Councilman Palava.
Second.
Second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of and authorize staff to advertise the job posting for the position of accounting technician, utility building permits, APAR, and payroll. Mr. Erickson.
All right, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Well, with the job description just approved, the next step would be to approve and authorize staff to advertise the position. To comply with pay equity, staff used the state job match and compared this position with our current employees. Based on that, the following is proposed: point range from 162 to 181, with 162 being the points assigned, which would be grade 7 on our pay scale, 2115 to 3308. And we kind of went over this here during the job description, but Lakeville and Chanhassen were both advertising at 26 to 34 an hour. Since then, Annandale, similar position, 26 to 34. Richfield, 76,000 annually. Ramsey, 23 to $26 an hour. To your question earlier, Mayor, on getting a quality candidate or an applicant or employee, yeah, it may be more than that $21.15 an hour for a starting wage. If everyone else is
Right.
basically starting out at 23. The anticipated timeline, with the job description and job posting approved tonight, we would advertise it until filled. Tomorrow it'll go on the city website and Facebook. It'll be advertised in the News Review July 5th and 12th. And then they also have a recruitology program, so it'll be on Indeed, headhunter sites like that. And then with the first round of applications being reviewed on July 18th, be a pretty quick turnaround. But if it works, proposing interviews for July 21st to 26th, with bringing a conditional job offer to the city council at the July 28th meeting. And then I'm just going with the 2 weeks. That would probably be the soonest, would be August 15th that this employee would start. As I said at the last agenda item, if approved at full-time, it will be an additional probably $25,000 cost increase to the city. So the alternatives would be to either revise or not approve the job description, or job posting, excuse me, and then attached is the job posting.
Well, hopefully there's some interest in it, and, you know, you never know what could be local as far as qualified persons.
Right.
So I move we approve authorization, or authorize advertising for the accounting technician position.
Motion by Councilperson Fear,
Second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of Resolution 2022-36, a resolution requesting the incorporation of various infrastructure improvements into the Rice County CASA 4 improvements projects. Mr. Erickson?
Yep, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. We've discussed this at the last several budget meetings, I believe. Rice County will be reconstructing County Road 4 between 80th Street and Trunk Highway 19 next year. In anticipation of the proposed project, city staff has walked the area several times and is recommending incorporation of some of the following proposed improvements: relocation of the sidewalk on the north side of County Road 4, turn lanes be added for both directions of travel, pedestrian crossings at both 8th Avenue and 80th Street, including rectangular rapid flashing beacon at both intersections, grading of the ditches. That south side, we've received complaints, numerous complaints over the years of that standing water and not being able to mow. Curb and gutter replacement, and then storm sewer for improved drainage. We have some infrastructure that runs underneath those streets, so we'd be recommending and be responsible based off of the county's cost participation plan for the installation of a water main connection at 10th Avenue Northwest and Heritage Estates, repair of sanitary sewer and storm sewer pipe near the intersection of County Road 4 and 5th Avenue, installation of sidewalk from County Road 4 to the J.C. Park adjacent to Arizona Street, and then installation of sidewalk on the south side of County Road 4 from 8th Avenue southwest to approximately about 185 feet. At the last budget meeting on June 16th, staff was directed to draft a resolution requesting Rice County pay for all improvements according to their cost participation program. That resolution is included with the staff report. The fiscal impact would be the cost of the improvements to the city infrastructure. We'd have to get a proposal for designing that as well, and then getting that incorporated into the plans. Alternatives would be not to approve the proposed resolution, and then the attachments are the proposed resolution, Rice County's cost participation policy, and then an aerial photo of County Road 4 and the proposed improvements. So I guess if the council has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. I guess in addition to approval of, or consideration of the resolution, be just, again, looking for direction from the council. Do we, is it just water and sewer? Is it, these, what extent does the city want to incorporate any improvements that we would be responsible for?
Well, I think, we should try and incorporate as much as we can. I think I brought up engineering last time and some of those things. I think the trouble is through the budget process, we're trying to identify priorities, and with inflation, all this kind of stuff, and, it's not really a high priority, but yet, on the other hand, you certainly want to get it done while the county is in there.
Yeah, if the county wasn't doing the project, we wouldn't be, at this time, recommending those improvements.
Right. So I guess my point, I think you'd ask for as much as you can, right?
And that's the way that the resolution is drafted.
Right, right.
But if we're, hit their timeline and their bidding timeline, if the council wants to incorporate some improvements that we're gonna be financially responsible for, we'll need to know that, so we can get a proposal from WSB and,
Right.
and get those improvements designed and incorporated with the project.
Would this project get bid out separately or included in that bid packet for the Rice County project?
Correct, we anticipate, correct me if I'm wrong, incorporating that into,
Yep.
into their plans and bidding it as part of their project.
So I think we'd be saving money because we wouldn't be hiring another company to
Right.
do it. We'd be using those contractors, okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of foolish to not fix the stuff
Right.
on the road for sure.
Yeah,
Right.
because then if you do have to go back in later, all you're
Right.
cutting up something, paying for something you didn't have to pay for.
I have a quick question on sidewalk south on 8th Avenue Southwest. So we're going to put sidewalk into that neighborhood?
Out of that intersection, correct, to get the residents off the street.
Okay. So are we going just down 8th? Are we turning on Heritage Drive or just what's?
No, what's proposed, depending on what side of the street that we put it on, would be, the furthest that it would go would be to that Heritage Drive
Okay,
on 8th Avenue.
on 8th, okay.
It'd just be that one block.
The first
right
block,
on the
okay.
south side.
And those are just recommendations by staff as we walk the project.
And then as far as installing sidewalk on 4 along the, basically, is that, are we just, is this just replacing? I mean, we obviously have sidewalk or trail there already.
It would actually be on Arizona, so it would actually go from the trail, north to the parking lot.
Okay,
Basically, the intention of the sidewalk is to get pedestrians off the road.
all right.
It's a bad corner there.
Well, when we do this, can we paint the curb then too? Where we have the no parking to the side of the street signs that nobody pays attention to? Can we get out there with a little, no one's watching the signs on Arizona Street by the park there?
Well, enforcement will go a long way,
That's a plus. Maybe, but people
But if-
can't, apparently people don't read.
but if the council wanted the curbs painted, it would be consistent with other areas in town.
You know, we put the signage up there to help control traffic there.
We had that same problem on Idaho Street,
I've seen that also, yes.
and recently we just put sandwich board signs out there to add more signage to kind of get them to realize that.
So they can't park by the park, but they can park across the street?
And there's even white lines there, only like 3 feet from the curb.
No, my question is, they can legally park across the street?
On
Idaho?
Yeah.
No, Idaho doesn't have any parking on either side because it's too narrow of a street. But we do have 2 brand new parking lots.
So that's been put $100,000 parking lots in for.
Some of this parking lots are full, I suppose,
Right.
right?
No, it's just further to walk.
Okay, anybody want anything else added to staff's proposal?
No, I think now's the time to do it.
Exactly.
Good.
And move we approve resolution 2022-36.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for all your work on that, Joel. Consider approval to authorize staff to advertise for a part-time liquor store clerk at grade 1, step 4, $14.92 an hour. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Recently, an employee at Lonsdale Liquor requested a reduction in her hours due to a change in her full-time position. We've discussed the request, and I would like to accommodate her, but because she still wants to work one Saturday a month. To do so, an additional staff member is necessary. Staff's reviewed the options for a schedule. Always, when we have a position open, talk to existing staff to see if maybe their schedules changed and some other days would work better. And then kind of what's left over is what we advertise for. There were some shifts, days changed. So we'd be looking at recommending that this position work, I think it's Mondays, every Monday, alternating Thursdays and Fridays, and then that fourth week is Saturday. The fiscal impact would be the cost of wages. Alternatives would be to not hire additional staff, which would result in current staff working more hours, and any full-timers that had to work would be overtime, time and a half. There are no attachments to the staff report. I did review this with the liquor store manager, and her recommendation is to authorize staff to advertise the position of part-time liquor store clerk.
Well, I would think that's a good idea, because the last thing you wanna do is already be short-staffed, and then if something were to go south, then you're even in worse situations, so.
Right.
I'd make a motion.
I would just say, I'm sorry to interrupt. I guess I'm not sure what's on the agenda, but it would actually be grade 1, step 3, 1442.
You have grade 1, step 4, 1492. Is that not the case?
That is not the case.
Okay.
I thought all employees there were 92. When I reviewed it, it was 42.
Should they be 92, or is that something we'll talk about at the budget?
Yeah, I'm sure that they would.
I mean, we should
would
talk
like-
about
would
the
like
budget
the
meeting.
raise, and it probably would make it, easier to
Retain,
retain and hire.
right.
It's just, the current staff, some of them aren't there yet, so
Right.
at least have to start them out where they currently are, not above.
Well, we should incorporate that in our budget discussions next week and stuff.
All right, well, once again, I'll make a motion to approve, advertise for hiring a part-time liquor store clerk at grade 1, step 3.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second?
second by Councilperson Pierre. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of a certification of an on-sale liquor license requested by the Lonsdale American Legion Post 586. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. While this was discussed recently at a city council meeting when all other liquor licenses were reviewed, due to how the Legion has been operating, they haven't qualified for a club on-sale license, and therefore need to apply for a regular on-sale liquor license. The Legion earlier this week did submit the required application and fee, less what was previously paid for their club on sale and Sunday liquor license. The license would be in effect tomorrow, July 1st through June 30th of '23, and will allow the Legion to invite more than just members and their guests to the Legion. Staff did contact several local cities, and Legions in those cities do have the regular on-sale liquor license versus the club. So this is very common that Legions now, to obviously increase revenue and have people patronize, have events, weddings, bar bingo, all that stuff, have the on-sale liquor license. The fiscal impact's the difference between the license fee from $100 for a club to $2,000. Alternatives would be to not approve the requested on-sale liquor license, and then included with staff's report is the certification of an on-sale liquor license application, and then state statute 340A.404 subdivision 1, which discusses who is eligible for an on-sale liquor license.
I just want to thank you for the initiative to make the Legion compliant. And what's really frustrating, I actually did meet with the Legion Assistant Commander last Thursday and explained to him the justification, because the rumor gossip is that they're fined and we're picking on the subcontractor at the Legion. And I explained to him that we're basically helping you just become legal. I mean, if we don't step in, the state will step in and fine you and make you legal. And he had a pretty good understanding of that. And then as you've probably all seen, next day, we're all lambasted for doing the right thing, which is really, really frustrating. The Legion is a terrific group of volunteers and, obviously over the years, servants of the country and all that. And I think it goes without saying, we as a council have been more supportive than anybody for our Legion. So to be criticized for doing the right thing just doesn't seem fair. And that's why I think it leads to how you commented, we need somebody at City Hall that can set the facts straight that, we're doing it for the greater good. And I mean, especially in fairness to Whistle Stop or Smoke, where they have to pay the legal, license. But so it's really, really disappointing that criticism was so severe. But anyway, I'm glad they applied and made it right. So okay,
I move we approve the license.
motion by Councilman Karada,
Second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That concludes the planned agenda. On to department reports. Mr. Blessock.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, just this week, we started doing crosswalks, and we'll be striping in the morning. We're coming in at 2 o'clock to do striping on Main Street. So hopefully, everything is done by the 4th of July holiday. That's our goal. We got set back a little bit because of the rain today, so. And then did some work at the police department, setting up irrigation for outside of the sod area. So we got that going. It's so dry that nothing wants to grow. Other than that, just trying to keep up with ball fields and everyday stuff. The other thing we're doing is maintenance at the wastewater treatment plant. We're working one by one on each clarifier, going through things. They are 20 years old. There's things that we have to do some welding and some coating of some steel because it's submerged always and not seen every once a year. So got quite a bit of work up there to do. That's what we're up to.
Okay, thank you for your work, sir. Mr. Nick?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Construction is progressing well on the 2022 street improvement project. Water main and water service work is now complete. Very close to having storm sewer work done as well. They've started rebuilding the roads in the first phase, bringing in sand and subcutting the road. Curb and gutter scheduled for Tuesday in the first phase, so that's always a good sign to see the curb going in. Expecting the first layer payment to be done probably late July, early August is when that'll probably go in.
Nice.
So things are going well. I will mention we did just yesterday encounter a bad section of storm sewer, about 120 feet. The pipe was bad, had backfall, so we did have to remove and replace that. We will be bringing a change order at the next meeting for that. It's 100 feet, wasn't terrible, but it wasn't bad. The pipe was in bad shape, was going the wrong way, so we countered that as we're out there, and it was the time to fix it was then. So just to give the council a heads up, we'll be bringing that forward at the next meeting. With that, hope the council has a great 4th of July.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Erickson?
Well, let's see. Next week's the first week of the month, so we've got the 4th of July. We'll be the three of us tag teaming to get utility billing out the door. Just all of us really, give kudos to Ben and Tammy for really stepping up here the last couple of weeks. Next week will kind of be the telltale of how it's going to go with a short week and utility billing and getting all of our tasks done that we need to for our jobs. So plugging away on the 23 budget. Our next budget meeting is next Thursday, the 7th. And then we hit on a number of things that I'll be working on here over the next couple of weeks, essentially HR stuff, liquor stores, city hall positions.
Thank you. Thank you
I'll
for all
let
your work.
Ben touch base on this, but I missed the approval of the agenda. If we want to discuss this
Yep.
item that came up here earlier this week.
Is Ben gonna handle that? Okay, thank you, sir.
Sure, yeah.
Mr. Baker?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council, and Russ can pipe in too, but essentially, we were just recently notified from a resident in town who works for the city of Shakopee that they had some ramps for sale. These ramps are about 20 years old, and they're looking to put in concrete, low to no maintenance type ramps in their skate park. They purchased it for $95,000 back in the early to mid 2000s. So really, it's just essentially, are we interested in bidding on this through Gov Deals? I know we've sold stuff on Gov Deals. I don't know if we've purchased anything from Gov Deals. The due date is just after the 4th on July 6th. So we definitely, as staff, can monitor that as we get back from the 4th of July holiday and see where the bids are at that time. It's seeming like there will be, there's been lots of views, but just very few bids. They're just looking more or less to have somebody come in and remove it. So if it's $3 is the bid, or $300, or whatever it ends up being, they're just thankful that somebody's bidding on it and taking it out so they can get their new equipment in. So I know Russ did go up there today, so I don't know. Obviously, it's old equipment, so there's some work that needs to be done with it. And then the biggest expense and time will be actually if we have to disassemble it and get it on trailers and bring it back. And really, it's an opportunity. So if we want a low-cost amenity to bring to town, this would be the chance to do it. It may even sit for a while, potentially, until we figure out a spot for it. Essentially what the size of it is would be the old hockey rink over here at J.C. Park. Is all that equipment would fit in that particular. It's not the same dimensions, but it's about that square footage. So there's some pictures of it. It would definitely bring a new amenity to town. It's just a matter of, do we want to jump on this opportunity, or, and if so, what would be your not to exceed amount that you'd like to go with?
Well, I think we can comment on like, amenity, as Councilman Kodanik can attest to. The skate park has been 18 years in the making.
And
So
like, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I like the fact of they're out going to concrete and permanent and you're done, but that takes up a whole park as well. You know, it takes a whole establishment where these can get moved, and if it doesn't work in one area, they can get moved again. I like that portion of it.
It's a starting point for us,
Right.
you know, rather than jumping in completely. I think the need has ebbed and flowed over the
Yeah.
years. There's, you know, at one time, there was a group that wanted to get together and fundraise for it. And then by the time those kids, they aged out, and then it died back down.
Right.
So,
We've had probably 4 different groups, maybe 5, that have come to park board, and, you know, it's kind of left at the same thing. Let's do a little fundraising, let's put, you guys get a little skin in the game, and then let's build this thing. And it really just never gets off the ground. This would be a pretty inexpensive way to do it, I think.
I suspect you want to comment on the condition.
Well, but real quick before that, you know, like Ben alluded to, you know, this is an opportunity. You know, we've just looked at it today, or Public Works did. You know, a location, we'll have to figure that out. You know, we'll have the cost of that. So it's not, oh, we're going to bid $1,000,
Yep.
and you know, so we'll have to figure that out and plan accordingly. So there will be additional costs. You know, it wasn't something, you know, and I don't know if anything gets done this year for a base or whatever, but, you know, we'll have to look at, you know, during the budget process, or liquor store funding, or COVID dollars.
Well, I think the point is it's probably likely it wouldn't get assembled this year, but it certainly could be a work in progress. And if you ever want to get to a skate park, I mean, if it's $95,000 20 years ago, it's probably $300,000 today. So if if you're buying it for $10,000, it costs you $10,000 to get it here, put it someplace till the time is right, or even a future subdivision. You know, you could add it into their park system, or any of those kind of things. But maybe you want to comment, Russ? You tell us the condition.
Well, it was hard to evaluate because everything's closed. I met with 3 of their employees. No one has any recollection of how it comes apart. The original equipment was only like 4 pieces of this, and that was purchased in 2001. This park was built in 2005, and they moved those 4 or 5 pieces over to this park and added multiple other ones to it. It was the same company that did it, they came in and installed it all. So no one has knowledge of how.
Is that company still in business?
No, I don't know, we didn't talk about that. He was
Okay.
supposed to give me as much information he could find. He didn't know what they had because it's been 20 years really since it's been moved,
Right.
or 18, whatever.
Right.
So they normally work on it once a year in the spring, go through and check everything and do some repairs. All these boards, I think they're 3/4-inch plywood, and then they have they couldn't really tell me what it is. It's like a plastic, but it's not a plastic because it's like flaking off. When it deteriorates, it flakes off in like sheets. So whatever this board is, they've replaced it before. So anyways, those are all screwed to the plywood. A lot of your screws are in the old plywood. So I mean, there's gonna be quite a bit of work to get it to the point where I wouldn't be worried about liability. There's a lot of metal, rails, everything's screwed, everything's welded. It's going to be very interesting to get taken apart and get down here. And then from there, go through each unit and see what actually needs to be replaced for rotten and.
Well, the two questions I have, so to disassemble, would Shakopee, for example, load it or assist in any of that? I assume they would do some of that, I suspect.
And that's what I asked also, how much assistance they'll receive, because I don't have anything to haul loader, skid loader.
Right.
I don't even have flat or trailer to haul this back, realistically. And he emailed me today that management said very limited assistance of disassembly.
How many would you say it's, like one of my little boys, how many loads with one of my little boys?
For all of this equipment,
Yeah,
probably 5 loads.
and this stuff, if it's put together, I assume you could load it with a Bobcat and forks or something, I meant.
I hope so. It depends, I mean, I don't know how it comes apart.
Right,
I would assume it's in sections,
right.
but like this one unit with number 1, I'm guessing it's probably about 60 feet long, and there's a steel rail at the top, and it's all one piece. And it's welded in one spot, so I'd assume they welded it on site, so that'd have to be cut, and I really don't know
I
without
think my point is.
tearing into it,
Yeah.
how
So
it's
if-
gonna come apart.
I mean, obviously you'd start with that business if they're still in business.
Yep.
And is there a brand name to this? Is
What says skate light on here?
Skate
They
light
are-
is the
That's
surfacing.
the surface though.
That's
Yeah,
where they
it's a
get the
surface.
surfacing from.
Okay, so whoever originally built it, and then they just bought the material from them.
Right.
Didn't they say something about they get it directly from Skate Light, otherwise there was a company in Duluth or something? that
Yeah, they get it from Montana directly. It's cheaper than buying it through Duluth.
Because I think, you know, ultimately, you'd have to have basically probably a community task force or resurrect one of those, you know, groups that are really big on skate parks. I just don't know if we should be rushed to say no. I mean, I think
Right.
it's pretty minimal dollars, really, even if the whole thing, even if it doesn't work out. You know, you're not out a lot of money.
You would think even if, you know, something does get ruined and taken apart, you know, there's 10 features, you'd probably get 7 or 8 out of the 10. You know what I mean? If you'd had to do some fixing and.
And I asked that question too, if we would have to take it all, and that's the way they're advertising it, but they were kind of wishy-washy on that, because at this point, they don't think they have any bids, and they're like, just come get, you know,
Right.
but it's still gotta go through the process.
And and we may not be laying it out as a complete skate park. Maybe you consider pieces at various parks or things like that. It doesn't have to be this big complex.
Yep.
And just, you know, like you say, maybe only salvage 4 pieces out of this whole complex.
Save
You
the
know.
best stuff.
Just dispose of the rest.
So am I reading correctly, as of, today at noon, there was no bids, or $1 was the bid?
Correct.
So they're not exactly flocking to purchase this
Right.
piece
I
at
think
this
it was like
point.
260 or 270 views.
So I think the question is, you know, what will we allow staff
So
to,
we have to, we have to budget that
Right.
dollar amount in that,
Right.
that time.
up to that time? And right now, they're proposing $5,000. You know,
I think that's a pretty safe number.
yeah.
Obviously, don't start at 4,500.
$2.
Exactly.
Well, most bids usually come to the last 5 minutes,
Yep,
and then it's.
exactly.
And then it's a
It
flood.
was a mad scramble.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think if we actually had possession of it, then we could certainly try and form a task force to see if there's, you know, some community members interested in this, and then we, you know, I don't think, quite honestly, I don't think we'd probably install it this year, and it's really
No.
July. At least if you had, you know.
This stuff is not like you can move it.
Right,
It needs to be set in a place, and that's where it's gonna be.
Right.
right,
It ain't like you can
right,
carry it in and out of the hockey rink.
right, no, we wouldn't do that.
So I'm assuming you have a place to store this somewhere? If you went?
I would assume this stays out all winter, correct? Are they
Yes,
covered
it-
or anything? Or?
Nope.
No, I mean, are you gonna, if we win the bid, are you gonna install it right away? Are you gonna store it someplace and get it?
We don't have a place to install it at this
Okay,
point.
that's what I thought.
We
So it'd
find
have to
places
be
it.
stored,
Okay.
So it'd be out, it would be
and
stored
it won't fit
outside.
in containers.
Mhm.
What's that?
It wouldn't fit in containers.
No.
Oh,
I think a 5,000 is a acceptable number. That's my motion.
Motion by Councilman Canada,
Second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Baker?
Just two real quick things. The old Barnwood building obviously was sold, and you can see things for sale out there. It's called RR Revival, and they are gonna be putting up a sign. They just got a permit, and so that temporary sign will be replaced with a new sign. But she says everybody is calling her the old Barnwood building, so. And then if you've noticed on Birch Street, between the villages of Lonsdale and 8th Avenue, there is now, thanks to the Public Works Department and a grant from SHIP, a temporary pedestrian and bike lane that's separated by paint and some bollards. And then the Public Works put up some nice ped signs there on 8th Avenue, and a new crosswalk and one of those signs in the middle, so.
Nice. Thank
It's
you.
actually getting used a lot.
Yeah.
I think the crosswalk sign made it like 3 hours before somebody ran it over.
Everybody cuts that corner both ways, you know what I mean? I'm surprised the Ballers didn't get it on going towards the library yet, but they probably will.
Okay, thank you for all your work. You'll be here at the next meeting yet, or?
I'll be here till the 27th.
is that what-
oh, nice.
Thanks again for all your work. Councilman Webb?
The liquor store, well, you already know about the liquor store. The library board, we met on, when was that? 3 weeks ago? Something like that? 2 weeks?
Yeah, 18th,
Some,
maybe?
18th, whatever, it seemed like a month
For the
ago.
Lions dinner?
Yes, that's right.
There you go. Hey, stick around, maybe.
Because I was very late to your dinner. But anyway, basically, I guess right now they're working on their budget. They're trying to make sure they get the budget in order for the budget meeting. They got good turnout on some of the last events they did. I think it was the mystery, some of the kids' mystery for the kids, and she said that was a good turnout, and she's going to try and do that again. I think they had a reception for the volunteers, and that went very well. They
Good.
kind of liked that. And then I think the next thing they're doing is the fine free, I think it's called. That's going in, and they're thinking pretty good. It's going to work pretty well. So that's about it. So,
Thank you, sir. Councilman Canada?
Park and Rec, we had a meeting last, Monday the 20th, I guess it was. A couple things we had, just a few updates basically. One of them was the Welcome to Lonsdale signs Laura has planted with her flowers.
Nice.
She has a team for that, and her was all involved in that, but she does that. Then in the Lions Park, I don't know if everybody noticed, there's a Trex bench going there from the recycled bag program. And it sounds like they actually have another bench coming that they collected so much, so
They're
that,
close to a third, actually, yeah.
that's awesome,
It
that's
is,
a
yeah.
great program, that's for sure.
Yep.
We reviewed and discussed a disc golf option over at Kalina Park. That might come to life here in the next couple of years. Starting to get a few people that are asking for that, and we have a preliminary, I guess, course laid out. Ben took some time and laid it out, and it fits in there pretty good. And we're working on our budget needs and wants, and that'll be a joint budget meeting, I believe, on 25th with the city council. And that's all I have.
Maybe discussing a skate park at that time.
Yep, exactly, exactly.
Thank you for all your work. Councilperson Fuhrer.
The EDA met 2 weeks ago now. We had an update on our small cities development program. We're working to get that in place, getting more work towards in the fall and then into next year. Also, we pretty much completed our budget process, so we're just about to have that all hammered out. That's about it.
Thank you.
Thank
For your
you.
work. Councilman Palava.
All I have is tomorrow morning, 7 AM, furniture is scheduled to arrive at the police facility,
Nice.
so we're getting that close. It's just punch list stuff, and waiting on those boiler pumps.
Projected move-in date, don't know.
Middle of July, it depends on the boiler pumps, is really what, but at our meeting on Wednesday, it was yesterday, yeah, they said that the boiler pumps were, I believe, in transit to us. They originally said they were supposed to be shipped a couple of weeks ago, but that might have been from the manufacturer to the distributor, but they're anticipating we should have them soon. And that was really the big hang-up. Everything else can fall in place after that.
Okay, and we're gonna continue to work on the disposal of the previous building. Work in progress. Just a couple of things, as we kind of touched on at the beginning of the meeting, the new condo building in the business park off of Pondview. They have the still fence up and the rock entrance in, and we're expecting construction on that to start pretty shortly, which would be really exciting, and I think I touched on that scan filter, that as soon as they close, they plan to start construction, so it'd be nice to get stuff going in that business park, of course. Couple other things, community days, I think we're still looking for sponsors. As far as I know, they're kind of got as many as they.
Sponsorship is doing well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now it's volunteers.
Oh, okay, that's, all right. So volunteers out there.
Sponsorships, those are easy. Volunteers, that's the challenge.
So, anyway, happy 4th of July, everyone. Have a safe and happy weekend.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second?
by Councilperson Fuhrer. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.